Well, next we're gonna talk some Slayer.
Yes. Oh, I'm excited about talking about Slayer. So you can never. That's like one of those names that, like, going to shows my entire life. There's always that guy at the show who's screaming Slayer anywhere you go. It's no, seriously. You could, like, the name Slayer is so legendary that when I was in high school, there's a yearbook because every school has those. But what makes this one special was that what they had for most memorable quotes by kids. One of the top ones was Slayer with like a bunch of exclamation marks with my name attached to it. Because
Shocking.
of course, it didn't matter what was happening. I just barged into some classroom that I was not in. I just screamed Slayer and I left the classroom. I went to a lunchroom that had nothing to do with it. I screamed Slayer. It was just what you did. I was in line. I just saw some guys.
This was last Tuesday.
Yeah. And I screamed Slayer, and I wake up at 5 a.m., put on Slayer, and I screamed outside the window at 5 a.m., woke up the birds and scared them away. It was good times.
At the Vegas meetup, when he entered the Vegas meetup, he just screamed Slayer, and everyone knew that Nick was there and ready to party.
I love that.
So anyways. All right, can I share my screen for this one?
Yeah.
All right, let me get Slayer. All right, so Slayer in 1990 put out an album titled Seasons in the Abyss, and they had the opening track War Ensemble. And War Ensemble is, I mean, a lot of people had mistaken Slayer at the time for being, I guess you could say, evil human beings in real life, when really they're just more so telling stories about things that were going on, because they sung a lot about death and about evil things. But they weren't, some of the guys don't swing that way in real life. Some do, but it's not even relevant. It's just the fact that they spoke about these things. And it really kind of started in 1986 when they covered the song Angel of Death, which was on their Rain and Blood album in 1986. That was about the Holocaust. But I feel like personally, I leaned a little bit more towards War Ensemble in 1990 because it was, well, at a time when war was happening so often, it almost feel like almost like a sport. And that's when there's the lyrics of, when victory is to survive and death is defeat, sport the war. The sport is war. And it's 5 minutes of endless speed and shouting from Tom Araya on the vocals, and just it's an endless fast song and very memorable song too. It's a live staple. They've played in their set like every single show since they come on 1990, and it's a big deal song. And War Ensemble is an anthem. It's definitely one of those songs where when you're at a Slayer show, everyone knows that song. It's definitely one of those songs. Everyone's singing that song with the band, and it's endless shredding too from Jeff Hanneman and Kerry King. And Dave Lombardo has a very punky way of the drums, old school punk, maybe say like Black Flag mixed with maybe a little bit of DRI in there because he liked the early crossover age. So yeah, you had the look at that. That's so I can't pronounce your name, but he understands Slayer. That's good. No, that album is all memorable. It's all hooks. Even though that's the best part, even though there's so much speed going on where it's faster than lightning, you could still remember the songs. You could still remember all the lyrics, and Tom Araya is super enunciatable. So that was what was great, and I loved it. And to this day, like, I've been listening to Slayer for over 20 years. This song has stood the test of time and then some. There's a lot of other great anthems too, like Megadeth has Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, and that coincidentally came out in 1990 as well. Right. That was right before they blew up even more with Countdown to Extinction. And Holy Wars is, about the politics and war and the ridiculousness of it all. And then The Punishment Due, the second half of that song is actually based on the Marvel Comics character, The Punisher, because The Punishment Due, what a shock, I know, mind blown. And then Motorhead in 1991, actually, they had a song called 1916, which is based off the album 1916. So a lot of people know Motorhead for being fast-paced, rock and roll. But interestingly, they have a bunch of, like, I guess you could say bluesy or more sour songs. And on 1916, their closing track, which is called 1916, was a very sorrowful, like, almost like a song to someone's, like, funeral, and it's basically when he's singing, he's narrating a story about kids who are or teenagers who are just too young to go to war, and it's a really, really sad song. But yeah, 1916, I highly recommend. I wasn't Exodus, War is My Shepherd, another great one, and that was early 2000s actually. That was with Steve Souza on the front, and that was from the album. Oh man, my brain is blanking out here. Forgive me. When it comes back, it'll come back. Yeah, but Exodus, War is My Shepherd is the song that I promise. It's a great song, and once again, more war. And Exodus, unlike many bands who nowadays fall in line to whoever's the hot trend, Exodus have never hopped on with the trends. They just hate bad things because bad things are bad, not depending on whose office. Oh, it was Tempo of the Damned Exodus did for War's My Shepherd. I remember now. So I want to pick some different songs that, because most people, if they were to choose, I guess you could say heavier songs as far as war, they probably chose something more obvious like War Pigs from Black Sabbath, or probably even maybe something Iron Maiden like The Trooper or The Longest Day. I wanted to dig a little extra deeper with stuff like a Motorhead song you would expect that's not Ace of Spades. So those are my war anthems.
Dude, that was
Great songs, Nick. Great selections.
Dude, that was like a history lesson.
No
Thank
kidding.
You. Yes. That was so rad.
Oh, that was, man, you know your music, huh? You know a thing or two about metal or what?
Oh, dude, trust me. Like, I was that guy, like, when I was in high school, while all the guys were, like, trying to get girls, I was just trying to look up albums to listen to. Like, I was that guy who read, I read every single thanks list on the album booklet, because when you look at the thanks list, it would show, like, who any bands they think, oh, hey, who's this band?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I'd spend 15 hours a day sleeping, put on an album, read a comic book, go to sleep, wake up, slam a beer, read an comic book, and then listen to 15 more albums. And I'm like, ooh, who's this weird band from like, Switzerland, something like that. I've always found everything. Like, even early today, I posted a video on a band I've been hooked on that's from Chile, and it's crazy what's out there in the world. And there's a lot of anthems for all various subjects, and war is unshockingly a popular topic amongst this demographic.
Yes, I was going to ask you, Nick, are you a fan of Sabaton as well? Because
I like them. I'm not like as over the moon about them, but they're catchy. I'll give them credit for that. Like I know they have a huge fan base. A lot of people like them. I'd like to, if the opportunity is right, I'd see them live if I could. No, they're fun. So, and I can tell they put on a good show. So I'd love to see them live.
I would too. They seem to have a really good production value, and some of the videos that I've seen really are awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they're a big deal, especially overseas. Like in the U.S., they can't play. I guess you could say like 1,000, 2,000 people venues on the average, but in like the European countries, they are. Wait for it. They are huge, like the biggest you've ever seen. I've seen many crowds before, but these are the hugest crowds ever. No, really, they played huge crowds in the European areas. It's a huge deal.